Hey everyone, the Fantasy Football Championships are finally here. If you're looking for some fantasy football advice, look no further. Are you wondering who you should pick up off the waiver wire this week? Or maybe you just can't decide who to start and sit this week? Well, stay tuned because we got all the info you need to dominate your league. Hey everyone, welcome back to Encinas Unfiltered. We're informed, unfiltered, and unmatched. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. That really helps us, the YouTube algorithm. The first thing I do want to tell you guys is Merry Christmas. This is our Christmas episode. There is some football on Christmas Day, so I wanted to make sure I recorded this and get this out to you guys, especially for your fantasy football championships if you're in the championship. So if you are, congratulations. As a reminder, if you haven't joined our membership program, you can still do that. We have running a promotion until the end of February or until the Super Bowl game where it's going to be 99 cents a month for life to get access to our Legend Tier benefits, which gives you behind the scenes access, which gives you early access to our shorts, early access to our episodes, and also gets you access to our Discord where you can go in and we have different chats set up. So we have football, basketball, baseball, boxing, MMA, gaming, you name it, it's on there. One-on-one fantasy advice. It's really a great deal, and I definitely recommend checking that out for 99 cents a month. Also, if you're interested in merch, we still have merch. I'm still working on trying to get it implemented into YouTube through Shopify. However, we do have our website. You can check that out in our link in the description. You can check that out on our website at www.encinasunfiltered.com. It might be a little too late to get Christmas gifts considering Christmas is right here, right around the corner. But either way, you can still get access to that and have access to that merch. Also, in the spirit of fantasy football, since this is the last week of fantasy football, we're going to be making a couple different shirt ideas for the winner and losers, and I'm gonna have the community vote on it. And whichever one for the winners and for the losers gets the best, or not the best, but gets the most votes, I'm gonna go ahead and create that shirt design and have a limited drop. I don't know how many quite yet, but I might do it like a limited time so I can get enough made and get that shipped out to everybody. As a reminder, there's still Fantasy Royale. It's still live week 17. I don't believe anybody has won quite yet. The $1,000 bounty is still live. If you guess all the NFL games correctly, Austin and Ekeler's company will pay you $1,000. But if you don't guess them all correctly, but you have the most guesses correct, I guess would be the way to put that, you win a $100 gift card to Homage. If you don't know what Homage is, you can go check that out, www.homage.com. And what they do is they have like retro style NFL, MLB, NBA gear. So I definitely check that out. It's free, 100% free. It doesn't cost you any money. So I definitely recommend checking that out. I just want to give a plug for a couple things that we have going on. So this is a reminder to stay tuned for our fantasy football draft episode, which is going to be in August of 2026. So that's going to cover the NFL 2026 fantasy football draft. And you can expect that to come out in August. Also, Xavier and Hayden and I are going to be filming what we call the Great Debate. The Great Debate is going to be Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. So Xavier's our Titans fan, so he's going to be talking about Cam Ward, and Hayden, who you've seen come on before, he's our resident Browns fan, so he's going to come on and defend Shedeur Sanders, and we're going to have a little debate, and that's going to be its own bonus standalone episode. So stay tuned for that. I believe we're going to be filming that next week, so expect that to come out in the next maybe a week or two. It's going to be a lot of fun, and if you guys are enjoying that type of content, then I'm going to keep making content like that. I think it's a lot of fun, and we can bring on different members of the community to have debates, healthy debates, of course, on those different topics that we choose to do. All right. In today's episode, we're going to be covering NFL Week 16 recap. So we're going to look at the games and see how they all played out. We're going to be doing a Week 16 boom or bust. So we're looking at that in PPR format. For fantasy purposes, we're going to do a Week 17 injury report so you know who's hurt this week, especially with the championship game on the line for fantasy football playoffs. Then we're going to do some waiver wire pickups. We're going to do a Week 17 start and set at quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, defense. Then we're going to do an apology segment, which is Xavier's segment. He couldn't make it today, but either way, I will still apologize for the players, and maybe I'll share his too because he went ahead and provided me with that information, so I can go ahead and apologize on his behalf. He will be back next week, though. Then we're going to get into some Week 17 football bets. We're going to look at the money line, over, under, and spread. And at the very end, I got some hot takes for you guys. All right, let's jump right into the NFL recap. So we have the Thursday night game. We have the Seahawks versus the Rams. Big game, big implications for the NFC division as far as playoff picture. Big implications for the NFC West in general at this point. The Seahawks beat the Rams 38-37 in overtime. So in overtime, the Rams received the ball. They scored a touchdown, went down the field, scored a touchdown, and they were up 37-30. And then on the Seahawks possession, they went all the way down, scored a touchdown, but instead of tying the game, they went for two and they won. So this is a big deal because it shook up the NFC West. Now you have the Seahawks at the 1 position, you have the Niners at the 5 position, you have the Rams at the 6 position. So the big thing about this, especially if you're a Niners fan, is that the Niners basically now control their destiny. before last night's game versus the Colts, they needed to go 3-0 to get a first round bye, and the entire playoffs, including Super Bowl, would have to run through San Francisco since the Super Bowl is in San Francisco this year. So next game, the Eagles beat the Commanders 29-18 on game 1 of the Saturday lineup. With the win, the Eagles eliminated the Dallas Cowboys from making the playoffs, so they're eliminated at that point. This is another delusional year for the Cowboys fans. You know, every year they always like to scream that they're going to be going to the championship, they're going to be going to the Super Bowl. I know there's a 50-50 split these days online of whether people are saying, oh, we weren't going to make it. Oh, we were. I think once the Cowboys acquired like Quentin Williams and some of those other players, they kind of had their hopes again. However, that just didn't happen. But I'm sure in August of next year, we'll hear, hey, this is our year. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. You know, it's a rinse and repeat with them. So don't be surprised if we hear that again. The next game on Saturday night, the Bears beat the Packers 22-16, and it was a very back and forth game, very good game. However, Jordan Love got hurt, so Malik Willis is in, and then Josh Jacobs got hurt as well. Definitely need to monitor those two players for this upcoming week. But what I will say, and I'm not just saying this as a Niners fan, but in general, the Bears really need to come out and play a lot better, because what I saw against them playing against a backup quarterback and with their running back out, with Mike out for the season, like if you're expecting to do that at San Francisco, I think you're going to have a way different outcome, and you actually need to come to play and step it up, because that is going to be a big, big game this week. All right, next game we had the Chargers beat the Cowboys 34-17. Honestly, my opinions about the game is that Dallas needs to sit down and kind of figure out what they need to do. The season was done before the game started, thanks to the Eagles. And this didn't really help their morale, but I think they're $40 million over the cap going into 2026. So they really need to evaluate what's important. I know they're looking at paying, they have Quentin Williams already, but they are thinking about paying George Pickens. They need to somehow figure out that salary, because if they want to be competitive, they're going to need to have George Pickens on that team, in my personal opinion. The next game, we saw the Vikings beat the Giants 16-13. It was a pretty underwhelming game, I would say. Pretty close, but then JJ got hurt and then Dart played like crap. We'll kind of see where they're going. Both teams are eliminated, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But at this point, they're kind of seeing what they have in both of those quarterbacks and the running backs and the team in general before heading into the offseason. The Bengals beat the Dolphins 45-21. Honestly, I wasn't too surprised. This is exactly what Joe Burrow and the Bengals needed to do, in my opinion. After the game, Burrow said, hey, I'm having fun again. This is how football should be played. So I think that's something that's very positive for Bengals fans. I know last week we were kind of worried that Burrow was going to have an Andrew Luck type situation, but I think we're going to be okay. So I don't think the Bengals fans need to panic on that quite yet. Next, this is a big game now. The Panthers beat the Bucks 23-20. It was a back and forth game, very good game. But it's important because now Carolina has a tiebreaker against Tampa. Even though Tampa's projected has a higher percentage of going into the playoffs, because the Panthers have a pretty tough schedule coming up. Either way, they do have that tiebreaker, so they can really play down to that. But the only two way these two teams are going to go is that they basically either Packers need to lose out or they need to win the division. So it's right now between the Bucks and it's between the Panthers. So we'll see what happens. It's very exciting, and they play again in Week 18, so that'll be another game to watch all over again. Next game, the Saints beat the Jets 29-6. Honestly, I think this was pretty expected, but Tyler Shuck looked good, so definitely nice for Saints fans after they lost Derek Carr for the year, and they weren't sure, right? We didn't know what was going to happen, what it was going to look like, but Tyler Shuck, I think, is the guy and has looked very good, so I feel pretty good about that young team now starting to they just need to get a couple more pieces and they can maybe make a push right there in the NFC South. The Bills beat the Browns 23-20. Pretty close. It wasn't close until the end, but you know, Bills do Bills things, so I'm not overly surprised. They almost fell off in the second half, and for the Josh Allen owners, Josh Allen had the worst game of this year for him stats wise, especially when it came to fantasy football. It was pretty bad. So not fun for Josh Allen owners. The Titans beat the Mahomes Chiefs 26-9. I was kind of surprised. I thought the Chiefs would be able to get it done, but Gardner Minshew got hurt towards ACL and he's out for the year as well. So now their third stringer is going to come in and rookie, and we'll see what happens. But it's not looking good for the Chiefs. The Jags beat the Broncos 34-20. This was my biggest sleeper of the week. I think I could have swore that I said that they were going to win, but Jags beat the Broncos 34-20. This is a potential playoff matchup that we can see, and it's going to be here pretty soon. Jags defense looks legit, and honestly, it's going to be really interesting to see how far they go. It's really going to depend on if they can keep Trevor Lawrence in that zone and to continue to have that offense pumping. Because I think as long as Trevor Lawrence is playing how he's playing now and that defense is on point, those are really the only team. I mean, not teams, but that might be one of the teams that could maybe play the Bills in the AFC Championship game, in my personal opinion. Okay. Next, the Falcons beat the Cardinals 26-19. Honestly, I thought the Cardinals were going to win this game. Drake London returned, but didn't really do the greatest. I mean, I don't know if he was on the snap count or what. But I think, honestly, Kirk Cousins is kind of playing to be traded because I believe they're going to go back to Michael Penix. So Kirk's been playing kind of lights out, kind of turning back the clock a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if he does get traded this offseason. The Texans beat the Raiders 23-21. That's way too close. That should not happen. Texas should have blew them out of the water. So I don't know what was up with that. But they got the win nonetheless. But it's just interesting to see. Next, the Steelers beat the Lions 29-24. Very crazy. Was not expecting that. Jared Goff started off pretty slow, but it started picking up. Basically, at this point, as a result of the game, the Steelers are most likely going to win the AFC North, especially with the Ravens losing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then the Lions, they could possibly be out of the playoffs if they don't win out. I think their current chances is like 7% or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And I know I kind of spoiled the next game, but the Patriots beat the Ravens 28-24. The Ravens are winning for the most part of that game. They were kind of winning. And then Drake May kind of came back and handled it. There was a late fumble by Zay Flowers that kind of ended the Ravens' comeback chance. And then Lamar got hurt early in the second quarter and he was back. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays. I don't know if you can trust him right now with all his injuries and just he might not be that trustworthy. So you might want to look at the waiver this week. But nonetheless, I believe the Ravens need to win out as well to even have a shot. Their current shot is like 9%. Monday night's game, the Niners beat the Colts 48-27. Brock Purdy had a 5-touchdown performance. I think the last time you've seen that in San Francisco was Joe Montana in like 1990, I believe, before my time. So that's pretty wild. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to speak too much of him. Every single time I talk highly of Brock Purdy, he absolutely craps the bed the next game. So I'll kind of just leave it at that. So now that Week 16 is at a close, for the NFC, the teams that are eliminated are the Cowboys, Vikings, Falcons, Saints, Commanders, Cardinals, and Giants. And for the AFC, it's the Chiefs, Dolphins, Bengals, Jets, Browns, Raiders, and Titans. Next, we're going to get our Week 16 boom or bust. So we're looking at the PPR format. So the QB booms this week, we had Brock Purdy at 31.9 points with that 5-touchdown performance. Trevor Lawrence came in with 31.16 points added for this week. Matthew Stafford had 30.88 points, and Justin Herbert had 30.2 points this week. Bust, Jordan Love, 3.78 points. He got hurt in that game. Lamar Jackson, 4.74. Same thing. He got hurt in that game. Josh Allen, worst game of this year, I should say, 6.9 points. And JJ McCarthy had 9.32 points. All right. Running back boom. Chase Brown had 32.9 points. Christian McCaffrey had 32.6. Ashton Genty had 31.8. And Bijan Robinson had 29.8. Running back bust, Kareem Hunt, 0.2. David Montgomery, 1.4, Mason, 2.1, and Trayvon Henderson, 2.2 with him getting hurt. Pretty unfortunate. Receiver boom, we had Puka Nacua at 46.5, Chris Olave at 36.8. Parker Washington made the list, the Jacksonville, I don't know if he's a slot guy, but 26.5, and George Pickens at 26. Bust, we had the return of Marvin Harrison at 2.4 points, Brian Thomas Jr. at 3.8, Mika Ibuka at 5, and Wan'Dale Robinson at 5.2. Tight end boom this week, we had George Kittle at 24.5 before he got out with his hamstring or ankle injury. Harold Fannin Jr. at 19.5, Kyle Pitts at 18.7, and Juwan Johnson at 16.9. Tight end bust, Dalton Kincaid with a fat 0, goose egg, TJ Hawkinson at 1.2, Travis Kelce at 1.6, and Arondé Gadsden at 1.7. All right. We're going to go into our Week 17 NFL injury report. So the quarterbacks that are hurt this week are questionable is Josh Allen for the Bills with his foot. Jordan Love has a concussion. Malik Willis has a shoulder injury. Lamar Jackson has that back bruise. JJ McCarthy, his hand, he's been ruled out already. Gardner Minshew, ACL tear, he's out. And then Marcus Mariota has his hand and quadriceps. So the hand is his throwing hand. So it'll be interesting to see. I really do like him if he is available. Running back, Josh Jacobs, he hurt his knee. He should be playing from what I read, but kind of keep an eye on that. Trayvon Henderson has a concussion, so I don't know if he's going to play this week. Alvin Kamara is still out with that knee injury. I think now that they're out, I don't know why he would play, but we'll see. Quinshon Judkins, his leg and ankle, it does not look good. If you want to know what it looks like, go ahead and look that up, but he's out for the season. It's pretty bad. The leg was going the other way. Woody Marks, he has an ankle injury. Kamani Vidal has a neck injury. Jordan Mason is doubtful this week with an ankle injury. Dylan Sampson has a hand and calf injury, and Javonte Williams has a neck injury. For receiver, we have Devontae Adams with his hamstring. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown for the knee. We have Rashee Rice. He has a concussion, so I don't know if he's going to play this week. Ricky Pearsall has that knee injury. Roma Dunze has his foot injury. Luther Burden is still with the ankle injury. Dobbs his wrist. Demario Douglas his hamstring. Kayshon Boutte's head. And DK Metcalf is the suspension for the rest of the regular season with the interaction with the Lions fan. Next at tight ends, George Kittle has that ankle injury. David Njoku has a knee injury. And Mason Taylor has a neck injury. All right. We got our week 17 fantasy football. This is our title page. We got the waiver wire and rankings that we're going to go through. So first at the waiver wire this week, at the top of my list, and he's at the top of my list every week, I like Jacoby Brissett. He's been throwing the ball a lot. He's playing Cincinnati this week. The defense is terrible, so I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good game. If he's still available in your league, he might be a good matchup. This other guy is Trevor Lawrence. I really like him. He's been doing really good, but as everybody knows, is when you pick him up, he does bad. Like it's risky, right? It's a little risky. It's a championship week this week, so it's kind of up to you depending on what you need. But he's playing Indianapolis this week. The Niners and Brock Purdy just torched him, so might not be a bad pickup. Not bad at all. Next, I like Sam Darnold. He's playing against Carolina this week. It should be a competitive game. Carolina did beat the Rams, but Sam Darnold's probably going to have to sling the ball, which is good for JSN owners, but that means good for Sam Darnold owners, so he's not having to hand the ball off so much. And I like Tyler Shough. Tyler Shough has been putting up 18 points or more the past 3 weeks. He's really good. He's doing very good. I really like him, especially in your deep leagues, like 14, 60-man leagues, and you're in the championship, and you have Lamar, maybe you insert Tyler Shough and just give it a shot. At running back this week, the priority is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. If people have dropped him, and if you have a Travion Henderson with that concussion, Stevenson's the guy. He only got like 8 carries, but if you need a replacement, he's going to be the guy you want to add. Then you got Tony Pollard. He's coming back from now 3 back-to-back double-digit games. He's a good flex option. Maybe not a starting running back, but you can still use him. Blake Corum is still putting up double digits. He's a good flex option, but remember, he is the number 2 running back there in Los Angeles. You got Tajay Spears. He had a really good week last week. He put up like 22 points, and he's a good PPR back, but obviously you can't rely on that every week. So if you're just in a pickle and that's all that's available, you should be comfortable with starting him. All right. Next, at receiver, you got to pick up Michael Wilson. Like, I think at this point, even if Marvin Harrison's there, Michael Wilson is that guy there. Jacoby Brissett really loves throwing the ball to him. So I think you can start him without any issues, even with Harrison back. Get that guy, and he could be your fantasy league winner in your flex or as a receiver too. Mark my words. Next, I got Parker Washington. So he was top 3 last week. Granted, he's not doing that every week, but he's getting targets. Trevor's throwing the ball a lot. That might not be a bad ad in those deeper leagues. Next, I have Isaac Tesla. So you're like, who the heck is that? That's one of the Lions receivers that has been getting more and more targets. He's more of a deeper league guy, I will say. He did pretty well. He had scored a touchdown last week, but kind of just, like I said, it's a deeper league ad at this point. Then Jalen Corker, he's another deeper league ad for the Panthers. I believe they're going to be slinging that ball, especially playing against Seattle. So kind of like, if you're in the deep league and you need somebody, he's a definitely good play if needed based on injuries. At tight end, I like Harold Fannin Jr. Shedeur throws the ball a lot to this guy. He finished top 2. He was the second best tight end last week. So he's definitely not a bad guy to pick up, especially with your championship on the line. They are playing Pittsburgh. It's a divisional game. Well, he's a top tight end right now, and you can start him probably pretty comfortably, especially with the championship on the line. Then I got Jawan Johnson. He's been on the list, off the list. He's a safety net for Shough. He's reliable. If he gives you 10 points, that's all you can ask for a tight end that's not one of those top guys. So definitely not a bad ad. And then Dalton Schultz. He's very reliable. He's had good years, bad years over the past couple of years, but as of recent, he's been doing very good. And he's playing the Chargers this week, so their defense is okay. It's probably I would say mid-tier, but CJ's throwing the ball, so I don't see no reason if you have somebody out or if Kittle doesn't play this week, he might be a good pickup if he's available. Now, this next guy, I really like him a lot. I like Darren Waller, okay? But he's a risky boomer bust option. You don't know what you're going to get. Tua's benched. Now you have Quinn Ewers. He didn't play very well. Waller's mostly touchdown dependent. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to be getting blown out by like 30 points, I just need to throw somebody in there and pray. hey, throw him in there and risk it for the biscuit, because at this point, that's all you can do. Next, at defense, I like Seattle this week. They're playing against Carolina. I like New England this week. They're playing against the Jets. I like Denver. They're playing against Kansas City. That team's just kind of defeated right now. And I like Pittsburgh at Cleveland. I don't know if I can trust that Cleveland offense. So I think you can feel comfortable starting Pittsburgh's defense this week. And as a reminder, it's fantasy football championships. So you got to stock up your team, you got to get your handcuffs in case some of your guys don't play. And it's the last week. So good luck. And for those of you that have been sticking around all year, I appreciate you guys for listening, especially for our waiver wires and for our starts and sits, and good luck. All right, everybody. As you can tell, Xavier is here. So I had previously told you he was not going to come, but he made a surprise visit. So,
well,
your boy was out there making that holiday OT. So,
exactly, dude. Money comes a calling, and then next thing you know, you're eating taco truck food, and then you're stuck to a toilet. But the boy made it.
Oh man!
Took some Pepto-Bismol, boys. We're back in it.
He's here.
I was taking a solid Shedeur Sanders. So.
Oh man! Oh, already.
Just a nice little Cleveland Browns. Taking them to the Super Bowl.
Taking them to the Super Bowl.
They ever get there.
That's fair. Same with the Cowboys.
It is what it is.
But I'm catching Xavier up to speed. So we already did everything. So we're going to go ahead and just start into the starts and sits. So you came right at the right time. So starting at quarterback this week, I got Joe Burrow versus Arizona, and I got Matt Stafford at Atlanta. Caveat, you'll see some of our rosters or some of our pictures are a little off. It's because I had done them ahead of time. So if you see them on Instagram, I just went ahead and picked those. Usually we do 2 and 2, but for this week, just with busy schedules and stuff, that's why they might be a little off.
And
but
you know what? If you're paying that close attention to notice that, kudos to you. That's a true diehard.
It's probably going to be Hayden. It's probably going to be Hayden or Angel. So
he needs to be paying more attention to this debate that I'm going to destroy him.
We have a promo ready to go for it. So don't worry.
Oh yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah. So let me just go back. So starting at quarterback, I got Joe Burrow versus Arizona, and I got Matthew Stafford at Atlanta. Joe Burrow is having fun playing football. That's what he said after the end of the game. And what better to do against, he did it against Miami, and now he's going to do it against Arizona. I don't think he's going to have any issues. Arizona is one of the worst teams in the league right now, so he should have another big, productive day. Then we got Matt Stafford at Atlanta. Matthew Stafford is slinging the rock. They got to win these games. I mean, they're in the playoffs, but, if they want to have a shot still at that, maybe that 5 seed, or technically they can get one if Seattle and the Niners lose, but Atlanta's defense is hit or miss. They're not really playing with a full staff team right now. So either way, I think he should do fine in this week's game. Sitting, I don't like Justin Herbert this week at Houston. Houston is a top 3 defense this year. Justin Herbert is good, is bad. It's hit or miss, but his left hand, even though it's not his throwing hand, does concern me. If someone just were to smack that thing, I don't know if he would still play. So those are my only concerns, and they already locked up a playoff spot. So just some things to think about. And I know this one's going to hurt me a little bit because I really have faith in this guy, but I'm sitting Bryce Young this week at Seattle. I just think Seattle's a really good defense. It's better than the Rams. You just don't know. I think it's risky. Shout out to cousin Ben. He was like, do I pick up Rodgers this week over Young? I go, nah, I think you got to play Bryce Young, man. He's in to sling the rock. But either way, it's good luck.
like Carolina does, though, they do it every year, as I've talked about before. This last stint, they just go on a tear. So this is that time where the Bryce Young owners that have him in fantasy, that's just been keeping him in the stash. This is a time to unleash the beast, dude. But this is a tough matchup, which sucks. So I do agree, though. There's probably some better options for you.
I just think when it comes to risk reward, it depends on your situation.
No, 100%.
So when I'm looking at a guy you're going to sit, it's going to be a guy where it's like, is it worth it? I mean, if you're projected to lose by 30, start Bryce Young. I'll tell you that right now. There are going to be no apologies next week. This is it. This is the end of fantasy right now.
I know, right?
This is the last week.
We can make some wild accusations.
Right.
This week.
It don't even matter at this point. So, take that with a grain of salt. Kind of think about it. If you have a better guy like a Burrow, a Stafford, a Dak, a May, you're going to start those guys over Young. Actually, starting at quarterback this week.
Starting at quarterback, I got the boy Jared Goff going against Minnesota. Minnesota is going to be without J.J. McCarthy, which wasn't going to help him anyways. So it's only going to be a good time for Jared Goff to put on a clinic because that defense isn't going to be able to hold him forever because that offense is just going to go 3-and-out real quick. So
Yeah.
should be a good day for Jared Goff. Next, we got the boy Dak Prescott going against Washington. Washington's going to be without Marcus Mariota. Only one kind of
Possibly.
keeping him in the games. Yeah, but more or less Mariota might play, but then he might re-injure. In my
That's fair.
opinion, it's not really worth it for Washington to do that. They like Mariota as their backup. Mariota's good enough to kind of keep them into games. So if I was them, I'd probably just sit him. The season's already a loss. If they choose not to, though, you know, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Dak Prescott's got a lot of weapons in Javonte Williams, who's good at catching out the backfield. And then you got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. So, no reason of why he won't do big things. I am sitting Rodgers against Cleveland. Rodgers is one of those old school era quarterbacks of the pocket passers, like your Peyton Mannings, your Tom Brady's, who don't do well with pressure. It just is what it is, right? Peyton Manning and Tom Brady both had that same issue. Doesn't mean they're not good. Doesn't mean they weren't great. It's just every quarterback and all has their respective kryptonites, so to speak. And for those pocket passers, it is pressure. And Cleveland, you know, Myles Garrett, he's on pace to hopefully break the single season sack record. So
That's right.
I don't see any reason of why he wouldn't be in there, essentially, in that backfield. Next, I'm sitting Stroud against the Chargers. Why am I sitting Stroud? Well, the thing about it is the Chargers always find a way to win. And I don't think that that's going to, change anytime soon. Thing about CJ Stroud, as we've seen this season, is he definitely likes to go up and down and take every fantasy owner for a roller coaster ride. And I feel like this is going to be one of those down times. It's even though it might not be the other Harbaugh, this Harbaugh is good with his defenses. So I'm expecting Stroud to struggle, and that is not what you're going to be looking for in playoff.
Yeah, especially looking at the Raiders game last week. I mean, they barely won by like 2 points, and I was like, "What's going on here?" Like, CJ should have been a lock. Nico Collins
Oh,
should have
yeah.
been a lock too. Another thing is, I wanted to ask you as a sidebar: would you draft Stroud, or would you take Stroud as your number one quarterback off the board ever? That's a callback for some
You
of the
know
old
what?
school fans.
You know
I just
what?
wanted.
Next year, I'm going to do it just strictly out of spite.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You should definitely do that. Starting right back this week, I have Chase Brown versus Arizona. I kind of already talked about it with Burrow. Chase Brown has been on an absolute tear, especially recently with Burrow coming back. And I don't see any reason why that wouldn't continue. So I think you can comfortably start him. And I got James Cook. Mind you, these are some upper tier guys, but you're in the championship. So you probably have one of these guys. So you need to know whether you should start with these big guys or not, especially with that money or championship, whatever you guys play for on the line. James Cook's playing Philly. Philly can be a scary defense. I'm not sure if Jalen Carter's back or not yet, but I don't think it matters. A lot of the Bills' offense is run through Cook right now. So because of that, I mean, I think you have no reason to not start him, and you can feel comfortable doing so. Sitting, I got to sit Xavier's boy here. I'm sitting Breece Hall versus New England. Even though New England just didn't do so hot against the Ravens, it was a pretty close game, but it was still semi-high scoring. Breece Hall has been giving up a lot of work to Isaiah Davis. So because of that, especially with the Jets something to play for, I just don't think right now he's trustworthy enough, especially in a championship setting. And then you're going to sit Amari Hampton versus Houston because Houston, like I said, is a top 3 defense. Now, Amari Hampton is coming back from that injury, and I do think that they want to kind of be cautious with him because if they don't have him in the playoffs, they're going to be pretty they're going to be struggling, I think, in my opinion, if they don't have them healthy enough for the playoffs, especially if they want to make a push. And in the AFC, which is the division with the best defenses in my opinion right now. Okay. X, who you starting at running back this week?
All right. So starting at running back, I actually got the boy Tony Pollard going against New Orleans. Tony Pollard has had 2 back-to-back 100+ rushing games. I think Tennessee's offense is now starting to incorporate him just a little bit more, which is something that normally they're run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, but now they're starting to change it up, which is something that I like. And it's showing with Pollard being more productive. You're starting to see Pollard get a little bit more carries, and Spears is kind of, taking a bit of a back seat for the past 2 weeks. So I think Pollard is sort of establishing himself back in that lead back role. And going against New Orleans, yes, New Orleans defense did really well last week. But right now you got a Titans team which is running off momentum of a 2-game win streak. So we're gonna run with that. And I like it. I like it, boys. Next, you're starting Genty going against the Giants. They're the Giants. Genty had a good game. No reason of why they still wouldn't keep him going and keep running off that momentum. Give your rookie running back a little bit more love. Let him, develop and see the differences between, good and not so good teams. And New York Giants offense last week had a really, really miserable
Terrible.
game. So with that being said, a lot of 3 and outs. And if for whatever reason the Raiders actually get ahead or whatever that may be, there is no reason to see why Genty wouldn't get work. Sitting, you are not going to fall for the trap. All right. You are not going to fall for this trap. You are going to sit Kenneth Walker against Carolina. He will not pull off that 24 again. He will not do it. I'm sorry. It is not going to happen. Do not fall for that trap. Don't be the guy to do it. Please, please do not be the guy to do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Please don't do it. Don't fall for it. Next, you're actually going to sit Jonathan Taylor against Jacksonville. Why are you going to sit Jonathan Taylor against Jacksonville? Because Jonathan Taylor last game had only 7 carries. What are we doing? What are we doing? They are relying very heavily on Phillip Rivers at this point. Jonathan Taylor is unfortunately becoming a bit of a afterthought. Nonetheless, too, Jacksonville is on a really hot streak. They're leading the division right now. I honestly don't understand why they're not going to put it in his hands. This might be the week they do, but right now we cannot trust this second half season of Jonathan Taylor, which has been absolute garbage.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Starting receiver this week, I got a duo from the same team. I got Chase and Higgins versus Arizona. You kind of see the trend here. Bengals offense a lot this week. I had some other guys to add, but honestly, I'm just going to stick with Chase and Higgins. I really like them. Chase has more opportunities with Higgins on the field, and with Higgins on the field, Chase is going to get doubles. So either way, one of these guys is going to go off. And honestly, last week they did really well together. So I don't see any reason for you to not start them. I am sitting Drake London versus the Rams. I know the Rams secondary is really weak, but Drake London only got like 5 fantasy points last week. He's still coming back from that injury. We don't really know where he's at. Kirk Cousins is that quarterback now. And, there's just a lot of we don't knows. And it seems like Kirk Cousins is mostly throwing to Kyle Pitts or handing the ball off to Bijan or throwing little dump off passes to Bijan. And that's kind of what's been helping them. So I don't see them doing anything different this week. Then you're going to sit Ladd McConkey versus Houston because you see the trend here, or Ladidi McConkey, as we like to call him on the show. Houston's a top 3 defense. Ladd, it's just hit or miss. It's too risky, I think, for this week, especially with playoffs on the line, to really trust it. So I think you can find other better options out there, like a Michael Wilson or some of those other waiver wire guys to help you out this week. X, you starting at receiver this week.
Yeah, wide receiver. I got the boy Chim DK versus New Orleans. It's not the DK Metcalf. No, this is the Titans. Chim DK going against New Orleans. This boy is actually kind of nice because you can double dip. He is the Titans punt and kick returner who was actually selected for the Pro Bowl. First time. The boy's a rookie. Gets himself those nice little Pro Bowl honors. I think that he is emerging as the actual number 1 in that offense, even though A.O. Manor does technically hold the title of the number 1. DK is the most explosive in that offense. So I think he has a good matchup against New Orleans. Next, you're still going to run with A.J. Brown going against Buffalo. A.J. Brown has become a week-to-week touchdown wide receiver. Buffalo does not have a good defense, so I expect that trend to definitely continue. Sitting, you're going to sit DJ Moore against the Niners. Fortunately, as much as I don't like to admit it, the Niners defense can sometimes get it done for the most part, and they love to burn out the clock. So I don't think that Caleb Williams is really going to have as much opportunities as he has in previous games, just because, obviously the Niners have CMC, so they use him a lot. He churns out a lot of time of possession. So I don't see DJ Moore really being as much of a factor as Caleb Williams would want. So next, I'm going to sit the boy Justin Jefferson.
But that's Justin Jefferson. Why would you sit Justin Jefferson?
I don't know, dude. I'm taking a shot in the dark here. I don't mean to be that guy.
I mean, maybe Max Brosmer has a lot to do with that, but
right. But anyways, we're gonna sit Justin Jefferson going against Detroit for the obvious reason that he doesn't have a quarterback. There's nothing he can do. Once again, as a disclaimer, I need to say it for everybody to understand. For those of us that are still, for people that are still learning the game, is that a player being sit or not producing is not always because of their ability. Sometimes it's just the team that they're surrounded with. And unfortunately, that is one of those situations with Justin Jefferson where that's just where we ride with it. And it's unfortunate. It is what it is. For those of you that drafted him first round, I'm pretty sure we gave a little bit of a disclaimer at the very beginning that probably wasn't a very good option. So, something just kind of to think about. But unfortunately, Justin Jefferson is not going to be a good option this week.
Yeah, I agree. Name value doesn't always necessarily hold everything. But, if you want to know about that discussion, you can go back in some of our episodes. I don't remember which week, but. All right, next, get into tight ends. This week, I like Trey McBride. I mean, I have some big name guys at this point because we're in the championship. He didn't do so hot last week, but he's playing against Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a bad defense. I think this game is going to be very competitive. I mean, or maybe not competitive. It's going to be very high scoring. Cincinnati's going to win, but it's going to be high scoring. So Trey McBride should have a great game. And I got George Kittle versus Chicago. Mind you, Kittle did have I think it's a low ankle sprain, but he said he could have went back in the game. The 49ers are in a must win every week if they want to get the number 1 seed because they control their own destiny at this point. So I don't see a reason why he wouldn't play. But Chicago's defense is hit or miss. What I saw at Chicago's defense against what they did against Malik Willis last week because Jordan Love got hurt, I wasn't very impressed. And I'm actually going to talk about that in the hot take section, kind of give you guys a little segment here, is that they need to do a lot better. It's ridiculous that they barely won that game when they were down a running back and down a quarterback. So it's come on now. You guys should have absolutely mopped the floor with them. So I digress, and that's where I'm at with that. Sitting, though, I'm going to sit Xavier's boy, Aronde Gadsden versus Houston because you see my theme here. Houston has a great defense. Gadsden hasn't been very good. He's not really reliable. It's kind of hard to trust him. And then you're going to sit Theo Johnson at Las Vegas. Theo Johnson, it really is dependent on Jackson Dart. And I think Jackson Dart, on paper, it's a great matchup for Theo Johnson. Don't get me wrong. I completely agree. But I think the fact that he hasn't been getting those touchdowns and Jackson Dart isn't playing good, it's not worth it in your playoff spot for the championship, for the money, for the belt, whatever it is that you play for. You can look at other options. There's a lot more guys on free agency like Jawan Johnson or a Harold Fana that might be better in that spot. Actually, you got starting at tight end this week.
Starting at tight end, I actually got the boy Hunter Henry going against the New York Jets. That's a good matchup. The running game wasn't really 100% as effective as it was last week. So they might air it out a little bit with Drake May, and Drake May does love himself a little tight end. Hunter Henry has a great matchup. All right. Hunter Henry does have a great matchup, so there's no reason of why you can't start him and feel confident. Next, you're going to start the boy Tyler Warren going against Jacksonville. I like it for the simple fact that if you have watched Phillip Rivers, Phillip Rivers is not throwing deep balls. He is not throwing 40-plus yard passes. This boy is short, couple mids here and there. But this is perfect for Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is hugely incorporated into that offense. So especially going against a tough Jacksonville team, division matchup nonetheless. I don't see any reason of why Warren shouldn't be getting a lot of targets and usage. Sitting, you're going to sit the boy Travis Kelce against Denver. Patrick Mahomes is gone. Kelce is nobody again. Gardner Minshew got injured. I don't even know if he's coming back.
Nope. It's his ACL. He's out.
Yep. Well, there you go. They're on to their punter as their starting quarterback. So,
they have a rookie. I don't remember his name, but they have a rookie.
That's the default in Madden. So, it is what it is. So unfortunately, Kelsey's done. Don't even bother. You're okay to drop him if you're not in any keeper leagues or anything like that. Which honestly,
I wouldn't drop him. I wouldn't drop him for like.
You could drop him. Hope your opponent's dumb enough to pick him up and play him. So might be a little bait, might be a little trap there. They're going against Denver anyways. They're a really good defense. It's just not a good matchup either way. Next, you're going to sit the boy Kyle Pitts going against the Rams.
He's been hot, bro. He's been hot.
No, I don't care. I don't care.
Oh,
this is going to be the game, and I'm not going to let you boys fall for it. I am not going to let you boys fall for it. Kyle Pitts is going to fail. Watch. Mark the words, or else you'll hear it on my apologies segment. But
man, that's a
regardless, regardless of that, dude, I don't expect Kyle Pitts to do a whole lot. The Rams are going to have a lot of time of possession, and their defense is not dumb enough to allow, Kyle Pitts to do whatever it is he wants.
Well, we'd hope, but I can't put anything against the Rams secondary these days. Next, we're going to get our defense. So I remind everybody every week, but I still got to remind everybody we don't have a spot for that, or we don't have a graphic for that. So quit asking me. Defense this week, I got Denver at Kansas City. Xavier already kind of talked about it. Denver's like one of the top 2 defenses in the league. KC's without Mahomes and Minshew. At that point, you put 2 and 2 together. Great start. And I'm starting New England at New York Jets. New England had a pretty not so good game last week. They gave up a little bit more than I was expecting, but the Jets are absolutely terrible. They actually just placed Justin Fields on IR too, so he won't be coming back. So it looks like it's going to be the Brady Cook show. So I think you can confidently start them with no issues. Sitting Minnesota versus Detroit, pretty self-explanatory. Even though I do like Minnesota's defense in general, Detroit should have a field day with them. It's a divisional matchup. Detroit's playing to try to have a shot to make it the playoffs, and Vikings don't really have anything, and they have Boston at quarterback. So I just don't think they're going to be doing too well, giving Detroit too many opportunities. Then you're going to sit Philadelphia at Buffalo. It's only for the fact that it is in Buffalo, because Buffalo still has a weird time when they're playing away, like they did last week against Cleveland. But I just have a feeling that it's going to be a higher scoring game, and I think Josh Allen and Cooks will do very well. So I don't trust it, especially in your fantasy football championship game. Actually, starting at defense this week.
Starting at defense, I'm going to start the Rams against Atlanta. I just don't see Atlanta getting it done. I don't see Atlanta scoring a whole lot of points. I think you could confidently start the Rams. This week, it's a pretty good matchup. Starting again, you're going to start Pittsburgh against Cleveland. I mean, I don't even need to say it at this point. You already know what I'm going to say. So, there is a big quarterback, as the gaming world would say, good quarterback diff going on there.
There you go.
Sitting, you're going to sit the 49ers against Chicago. It's not a dig at the 49ers. It's not a dig at their defense. It's not a dig that, Chicago's going to blow them out. I just expect this game to be a little bit more high scoring, to where for a fantasy purpose,
that's fair.
It's not worth it. I wouldn't start Chicago either. So,
yeah, that's fair.
Both of these sits, I wouldn't start the other team either, to be honest. Next is Arizona versus Cincinnati. I wouldn't start Cincinnati's defense. I wouldn't start Arizona's defense. Both of these, for Arizona's sake, Arizona's defense has been awful all year. Yeah. Even when Cincinnati had Joe Flacco and, before Burrow and all that, Cincinnati's defense was never doing anything either. So I expect these games to kind of be a little bit high scoring, which is why for fantasy purposes, these defenses cannot be trusted. All right. Now into the fun segment where me and Rod like to humble ourselves a little bit and, show that obviously, a lot of professionals don't do it. But we are men of the people. So we are here to admit when we were wrong. That's okay. That's what fantasy is all about. So with that being said, let's get into this list. Starting it off, I told you boys to sit Matthew Stafford, got 30 points against Seattle. I should have known better. I should have known better because Stafford does this, right? Roller coaster, roller coaster. He had a bad game. I should have known he was going to do good. I also told you to start DeAndre Swift, 9 points against Green Bay. Told you to sit Jonathan Taylor, 16 points against San Francisco. Honestly, was very surprised by that. I told you to sit Hampton, who got 16 points against Dallas. I told you to sit Alex Pierce, 24 against San
Went
Francisco.
off, bro.
That was wild. That was wild. That was wild. And I think that's over time that Phillip Rivers is starting to figure it out and start to spread it around. I told you to start Travis Kelce, 1 point against Tennessee. To be fair, I thought Gardner Minshew was actually going to stay a little bit more. Didn't work out that way. I told you to sit Juan Johnson, 16 points, New York Jets, and start Philadelphia's defense, 5 points against Washington.
Yeah.
For those, I do apologize. I gave a little explanation for a couple of them. So, unfortunately, we can't get them all right.
Yeah, well, now I'm up, and man, I thought this list was going down every week, and it just went right back up. So starting, I told you guys to start Jacoby Brissett. He scored 12 against Atlanta. I think as a starting quarterback, you wanted to at least have 15 or more. So, that was pretty bad beat on my end. I told you to sit Bo Nix. He had 16. It's not the greatest, but he was very viable this week. So, I mean, it is what it is on that one. Big one, though, I told you to sit Ashton Genty. He scored 32 against Houston. I don't think anyone expected that. But he, he scored 32. It is what it is. I told you to start Nico Collins. He got 10 against the Raiders. Shouldn't have happened, but, CJ had a bad game too. Told you to sit Devontae Smith. They actually used him this week. They scored 16 points. Or he got 16 fantasy points against Washington. Told you to sit Justin Jefferson. He got 15 at New York. I told you to sit Brock Bowers. He got 14 at Houston. And I told you to sit Brenton Strange, and he got 15 against the Broncos. So I apologize for those. Obviously, a lot of my picks and X's picks were based off of the matchup, but that's fantasy football for you. Sometimes matchups don't necessarily tell you the whole story, and teams will game plan and figure it out. So we apologize. I know I don't want to speak for you, but you already apologize, but we apologize. This will most likely be our last segment until next year of the apology section, because next week will just be more football based, probably not really fantasy based, unless that's something that Xavier wants to do. We haven't really talked about it, but I just don't see a point.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. But all in all, this is a segment we'll continue to keep around, and especially next year, and we'll do it from week 1 this time. So Xavier, thank you for the wonderful suggestion with coming up with it. I know the boys do appreciate it. All right, we got our week 17 football bets. We're looking at money line, over, under, and spread. As a reminder, we will do this until the end of the season, so Super Bowl. So this segment will not be going away like our apology segment and like our fantasy stuff. So Thursday Night Football, I mean, this would have been good if they're all still in playoff contention, but we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Commanders. The Cowboys are favored by 5.5 points. The total's 50.5. So with the anticipation of Mariota not playing, I'm going to go under, because I don't think that the Commanders are going to be able to score, but I do think Dallas wins by 5.5. So I think you can comfortably take that spread.
I agree.
Next game, we got Detroit Lions against the Vikings. The Lions are favored by 6. I think you should take that all day long, just because Max Brosmer is now the quarterback for the Vikings. So I think that's easy for you. These are Christmas games, by the way. The total's 44.5. I'm going to go under, only because I don't think the Vikings score a whole lot this week.
I agree.
All right. Next game, we got the Broncos versus the Chiefs. Broncos are favored by minus 12.5 points. That's a lot.
It's actually kind of fair, though.
It is. I think, though, I'd rather take the minus 6.5 if you can afford to do so on an alternate point spread, just because you don't know what kind of defense shows up. I know they're pretty defeated and they're out of playoffs, but I believe most of their players are still playing, from my understanding. The total 37.5. I just feel like that's low. I'm going to go over. I know that one's kind of like a weird one for me, but I think I'm going to go over, just because I think Denver could score, if that makes sense. It's just more of the point spread. I think you want to kind of keep it just in case.
I actually agree with you. Yeah.
Okay. Next game we got, this is Saturday now. I like these Saturday games. We got Houston versus the Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 1.5. And honestly, after watching that last week, I would take that 1.5 for sure. They're playing in LA. The total's 39.5. That's pretty low. I mean, I understand, but I mean, the Raiders put up 3 touchdowns against them too. So I think I'm going to go over on that. And I think you can be comfortable with those. X?
Yep, I agree.
Man, this is great.
Yeah.
Next game, we got Baltimore versus Green Bay. Green Bay's favored by -2.5. So I'm not sure yet. My biggest thing is figure out if Jordan Love is going to play. So I think if Jordan Love plays, yes. Or actually, it depends on if Jordan Love plays and Josh Jacob plays. Malik Willis did well. I will give him that. He played pretty well. He was making some plays down the field. I believe Josh Jacobs is playing, but Lamar did not practice today. Today it was filming. It's Tuesday. He has that back situation. So if he doesn't play, I do like Green Bay at -2.5. And the total at 40.5, I'm going to go over regardless.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Next game, we got Cardinals versus Bengals. Bengals are favored by 7. Ooh, I don't like those round numbers, so I think I'm going to go Bengals. If you go down to 2.5, I think that's fair, just because it could be a high-scoring game. We don't know what we're going to get, so I think that's going to be the safe one, but for sure on the Bengals. The total's 53.5. I'm going over. Bad defenses.
Yeah. No, definitely on the over. Yeah.
I'm taking Bengals at -2.5 on the alternate.
You know what? I would feel comfortable taking Bengals at 7. I feel comfortable.
Okay. Next game, we have, mind you, these are the Sunday games now. We have Tampa Bay favored by 5.5 versus the Dolphins. The Bucs need a win. They got to win out here. I would rather you do the -2.5. I do think they do cover the -5.5, but just to be safe, the Miami has their Quinn Ewers playing. He didn't look too good. So either way, the total is 46.5. I'm going to go under just because I don't know if that Miami Dolphins offense can score besides Devon A-Chain at this point.
I agree.
Okay. Next game, we got Jacksonville favored by 7 versus the Colts. Look.
Whoa. I don't know. No.
I'm taking -2.5 on the Jaguars on the alternate.
No way.
Just because it is a divisional game. You know, you don't know what's going to happen with Phillip Rivers. I want to say he doesn't look, he's throwing the ball overly great, but then I went back and watched some of his tape from back in the day, and he still doesn't look like he was throwing the ball great back then either. I think it's just his throwing style. But he's not throwing 40-yard bombs no more. I think that his days of that are gone. So I do think Jacksonville does win this game at -2.5. The total's at 46.5. I'm going to go under just because Jacksonville defense has been very good this year.
I'm actually going to go over, but I will still take Jackson.
Okay. At the -2.5.
Oh yeah. Not the 7. Not the 7.
Okay. Next game, we got New England Patriots favored by 12.5 versus the Jets. That spread is a trap. If you can get it down to 6.5 or 2.5, which I don't think you're going to be able to do, that's too much. Just because Patriots can get weird with divisional opponents. The total's 43.5. I'm going to go under because I don't know if I can trust the Jets to score.
Yeah.
Okay. Next game, we got the Saints favored by 2.5 versus Tennessee.
No way.
You're not going to like this. I agree. I truly do. I think Tyler Shough is having a really good year. They're a more complete team right now, surprisingly. And the total at 39.5, I think it's going to go under.
Sorry. I am going to say definitely Tennessee. We're not. No.
Okay.
Definitely Tennessee. I'm actually going to go over.
Okay. Next game, we got Seattle favored by 7.5 versus the Panthers. Nope, that's a trap game. If the odds are at +7.5 or -7.5, you're going to go +7.5. Doesn't mean that Carolina wins. That just means that they don't lose by more than 7.5 points. So I definitely take the plus money on that spread. I think I can see Carolina winning by 3. I can see Seattle winning by 3 or 4. I don't see it going. It's going to be very close. You'd be surprised. Remember, the Carolina Panthers beat the Rams here. Okay, we're not. Let's not forget about that game. The total's 42.5. I'm going under. I think it's going to be close. You're going over?
Over.
Oh man, yeah. I don't
Carolina's
know about that.
hot right now, dude. Carolina's hot right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go under on that one, but it's all good. Next game, Steelers versus Browns. Steelers are favored by 4.5. I think Steelers win this game. I don't know if it's by 4.5. I think you go the alternate at -2.5 because it can get weird. Okay, it can still get weird. Myles Garrett's going after the sack records. Cleveland's Browns defense is going to show up. Total's 34.5. Ooh, that's pretty low, but I'm going to take the under because I don't trust it. And Rodgers doesn't have DK Metcalf.
Yes, I agree, but I would feel okay with the 4.5. I feel
Okay. Next game, we got New York Giants favored by 1.5 versus the Raiders. The total's
but
41.5. Yeah, Raiders are pretty bad, man. Raiders are pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know if
no, they're
Raiders win this one,
bad,
man.
but
I don't know. I'm gonna have to agree with the experts here. I think I'm gonna have to go New York 1.5 because if Jackson Dart could figure it out, bro, he'd be fine. He'd be fine. I think he'll be all
if
right,
he still had Nabbers, sure.
bro. He did it without neighbors. It's fine. He'll be all
Oh,
right. I think New York at
that's
minus one
because
and
he
a
had
half.
Scatabo, dude.
He'll be all right. I think the total will be over 41.5 though.
I actually think it'll be under, and I'm going Raiders.
Next game, we got Eagles versus Bills. Bills are favored by -2.5. They are playing at home, so I do like that. I do think that they will win that, and I think that's a fine spread. The total's 45.5. I'm going over. Bills are going to have to score. Eagles have a good defense, but they're hit or miss, and both teams are going to have to score to keep up with
I'm
each
actually
other.
gonna go under. I'm gonna go
Okay.
under.
All right. Next game, we got. All right. Sunday night, we got Chicago Bears versus San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are favored by -2.5. I like this spread personally. It's going to be close. Well, let me finish. I like it at -2.5. Okay. I think the Niners can win this game. The total's 50.5. I'm going over just because Niners have a bad defense.
No way, dude.
Yes, sir.
No way.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
taking Chicago. I'm definitely going.
That's wild. I know you don't want the Niners to win, bro, but unfortunately, the Niners have a better offense than the Chicago Bears, and their defense did not play well last week.
We talked about it. The Niners have the easiest schedule in the NFL, and now they're going up against an actual good team, a playoff contender team. Watch
Who
all
also
of
had
those
a very
injuries.
good schedule as well.
Watch all of those injuries start to show.
Niners are going to win by 3 or 7, in my opinion. I trust Robert Saleh. I don't trust.
They will lose by a field goal. They'll lose by 3.
Okay, we'll
They'll
see.
lose by 3.
Last game, we have Monday Night Football. We got Los Angeles Rams favored by -8.5 versus Atlanta. I think like games like this, I know they're both primetime. I feel like they should switch them, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
The Rams at -8.5. Like I can see the point. I just don't like when it's over a touchdown. I personally rather go -6.5. Or if you don't like the odds, you can go down to -2.5. And if the odds still work in your favor, I think you do that. Just because it can get weird. Games like this are always trap games, and they get weird with these teams.
Yeah.
Total's 49.5. I'm going under on that. I think that's too much. I don't anticipate Kirk Cousins scoring a whole lot on the Rams, in my opinion. So that is our Week 17 football bets. Next is our hot take section. I'm actually going to have Xavier go ahead and share his hot take first. So go ahead and start us off. What do you got for us this week?
So my question is, Phillip Rivers, the actual problems, like the actual problem of the Colts losses?
I mean, well, as far as the whole season or the last couple losses?
Since Phillip Rivers has been playing,
Okay.
has he been the reason that they've been losing?
I think it's yes and no, right? And I think it's not a yes or no answer, but you have to look at it. He was their best shot. I don't think there was anybody else. Anthony Richardson's on IR. Riley Leonard's unproven, late draft pick, and you just lost Daniel Jones. So you go and get a guy who knows your offense. I don't think they had another better option at this point, of as far as who was available. Is he a reason for their losses? I mean, possibly, but I don't see another world where somebody else was going to come in and get wins for them, if that makes sense. I think he's doing the best he can with what he could at 44 years old and being out of the league for 5 years. And
So
honestly,
then
I will
with
say
that-
for myself, I'm very impressed with
Yeah.
how he played, especially last night.
So then with that, do you think that if maybe they had another quarterback, they would have been more competitive? Or do you think they are at their most competitive state right now with this situation that
No, I think if Daniel Jones was still healthy, that Niners and Colts game would have got really interesting because I think he was playing very good football, in my opinion.
So
based on what I saw.
what I mean is Daniel Jones, not a factor. Like Daniel Jones is still injured. You take Phillip Rivers out of the equation, you put somebody else in there. Do you think they would they might have still lost, but do you think they would be as competitive in their losses? Okay. Okay.
No, I
So
think the fact that Phillip Rivers, like you said last week, Phillip Rivers knows the system, he uses it in his high school team. It's there was not a perfect match for them. And I don't know if you watched the Monday Night Football, but some of the announcers and color commentators were talking that they actually took a vote of confidence, which is interesting that they even have that for each. So like quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, tight ends, each team got together and made a vote of whether or not that they would like him to come in, and they all unanimously voted yes. So I think once you have that vote of confidence for them to
solid.
come in, it's they're not winning, but it's close. Honestly, if you put Riley Leonard in there, who hasn't really played a whole lot, but like 8 snaps, I think it was, or something like that, he wasn't going to go in there and be a game breaker. If that was the case, they wouldn't have had Daniel Jones when he started playing bad, keep playing. So, but in my personal opinion, I know that was a part of the question, but I think if Daniel Jones was there last night, it would have been way more competitive because Daniel Jones could move his feet a lot better, if that makes sense.
Right. And honestly, to the same questions, that I asked, uh, I don't think Philip Rivers is the problem at all. They had this problem, kind of before with Daniel Jones when they were losing games. Uh, they had that problem. I think it's a defensive problem. I don't think it's an offensive problem. The only thing that I think factors into maybe the limitations of the situation they're in is that, as we said before, Philip Rivers is not throwing those 40-yard bombs anymore, right? He's keeping it mid to short majority of the time. That can still win in NFL. Don't get me wrong, right? We watched Alex Smith do that with the Chiefs a while ago. He was just the short pass king. But I think, I don't think it's his problem. I think the problem is that they're not using Jonathan Taylor and that their
I agree.
defense is playing too soft when it comes into the second half instead of staying aggressive. Um, and like you said, I do agree. I think Philip Rivers is playing very good, especially for the state that he's in. Now he's getting more practices, so now you're starting to see, as I mentioned before in the previous episode, is that Philip Rivers wasn't really much of a slot guy, right? He didn't really want to incorporate that slot wide receiver, but we saw last week he got more comfortable with everything. He started building a little bit more rapport, and all of a sudden, Alec Pierce is now starting to become a part of Philip Rivers' repertoire, so to speak. So I like him. I know it kind of sounds like I'm like gushing over him. I I
You're
do
glazing him.
like
It's cool
him.
though,
Yeah. To be honest, I really like the story, right? I like
for
the
sure,
story
hundred
with it.
percent,
And I like the fact that, especially for us, right? When we were watching the NFL in the prime of the NFL, Philip Rivers was a part of that conversation.
for
And to
sure.
watch him come back and start to do these things, and you could see it too, you know, scrolling through social media, the NFL has it too, where you hear Philip Rivers' cadence and what he's calling out at the line of scrimmage. That boy is sounding like Peyton Manning, dude. He
Right.
sounds like he is dissecting it. And so I love everything about it. I don't go ahead.
I was like, he was until he called a play that he called earlier. Luke Kuechly actually pointed it out, and he got
Yeah.
picked. He had a pick six by D Winner. So that would be the
And
only
and
thing where like the
and to
team picked
be
it up
fair
on that.
though,
But
right. And to be fair, I mean, what do you expect, dude? Dude's 44,
yeah,
came out,
yeah,
came off the couch. You know what I mean? He's second week of practice. Like, I'm gonna give some grace there, you know, just for the fact that he is a proven quarterback, right? He knows how to play, he knows how to win. So with that, I hope, I like genuinely hope that he decides to actually stay in the offseason and wait for Daniel Jones. I hope the Colts sign Daniel Jones and keep him. I hope that they actually keep him over the offseason. They play him, continue with him until Daniel Jones comes back, and then they just let him go. I would be cool with that. Let him ride off into the sunset.
right. Yeah, I have a couple of things to add though to that. I agree with you on the defense. I do think the defense is the problem, but Sauce wasn't playing. Ja'Jarvis Ward wasn't playing, which are their two top cornerbacks. So I mean, it's
Yep,
not
I agree.
surprising. They're both hurt. So yeah, their defense is a problem. But did you know that they haven't given up points in the third quarter since 2005 before last night?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Right.
That's actually a pretty cool stat.
So their defense was very solid. Unfortunately, I just think they hit a very hot 49ers offensive team right now. Um, but and I do agree also with your Phillip Rivers assessment, because I was actually going to ask you, I was going to be like, do you think he should stay? But he might be 45. He does need
I
to get
do.
into better shape.
Yeah.
He does get his benefits for an
Anthony,
extra 5 years. Hey, let's go. Anthony
hey, the
Richardson is going to be
boy.
hurt. He'll be back. I don't
Yeah,
think they're going to get
he'll be
rid of him.
back.
He'll be
Yep.
out there. Send Riley Leonard to the practice squad for, however many games. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. But if Phillip doesn't think he has it in him to do it, I don't think anyone's going to be mad about it, because he's already proven
One
himself.
thing,
But he
right.
ruined his NFL Hall of Fame eligibility now, so he has to wait again.
That's okay. I mean, it's not like it's
People
really
voted
going
for
to
him this year,
matter.
just so you know.
I would have. But
Yeah.
one thing that I think would actually be good too is, since bringing up the boy that I used to love so much, bringing up Anthony Richardson. To be honest, I actually think it would be a good idea to still keep Rivers there, even when he's healthy. Let Anthony Richardson play and let Phillip Rivers actually coach him as well, because he does understand the offense. So it's not like he's going to be getting, two mixed signals from two different coaches doing whatever. It's actually nice, because then you have Phillip Rivers who can go in the game and actually show him, like, hey, dude, like, this is what I mean. Watch. Bam. There you go. So I think that it would actually be a good way to 100% solidify that Anthony Richardson is truly a bust in that organization, and go from there. I think that would be great. Just put Phillip Rivers as a backup. Let AR play and let him figure it out. I actually, you brought it up in that, I don't know, for some reason you sparked that idea, and I think that's really
Yeah,
cool.
I think it depends, though. I think, like, if they can get some kind of draft capital for him, I don't see why they wouldn't move him. I think a second or a third for him, I think they let him go. And to be
But
honest,
I
because they
I
drafted
don't
Riley
think any
Leonard,
team.
they already saw that they were like,
Right.
yeah, we're not
Right.
gonna
I
stick
just
with this
don't
guy.
think that I don't think that any team would take Anthony Richardson for that, because you got to think of it as a business perspective, right? They're going to let him go. So if you want him, just wait another year. Ain't no big
Yeah,
deal.
but I
You can
think
get him
also
cheap
you could
too.
still. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but like the last thing about Phillip Rivers, I think we should wait and see. He has a lot of kids. He's a grandpa. I think we need to just wait to see what he wants to do. I think there's only a couple guys where I think they can be that old and come back, and one of them's Tom Brady, and I think that's the only guy, only because he never got hit, and that's it.
That
That's honestly
is,
it. But
yeah,
everybody else,
that's
like
really fair.
Peyton, all those guys shouldn't come back. They got hit too much.
No.
So, and you can see Phillip Rivers' game degress significantly since he last played. He's doing fine, but it's not, let's not call it. Aaron Rodgers looks better than Phillip Rivers.
But
I'll be honest with you.
but you know what though? As you saw him his first week, and then you saw him his second week, he looked better. He
Sure,
did look better.
sure.
So I
It's just
am kind of
the zip
curious.
is not there though. That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. And you know what though? He does have a weird throwing form.
He
Like,
does.
it's
Yeah.
super weird compared to like what you see in the NFL now. Like, now it's more in the hips, where you watch Phillip Rivers, he's like all upper body shoulder. Like,
Right.
that dude is like shot putting that thing. It is super funny. And I don't know if that might have like a bit of a weight issue. Maybe his body can't really turn the way it used to.
Maybe.
Those
Yeah.
rolls are getting in the way. Hey, when you have that pick belly, dude, and you go down to tie those shoes and you can't breathe, that's when you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, that's what I said. I wonder if he stays and just gets healthy and loses some weight,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's up to
Honestly,
him. I
that would
think
be
he'll.
really cool. I'd be all for it.
Well, I honestly, my realistic opinion is that if they lose this game, which I think they will this week, they're probably just gonna let Phillip Rivers go and cut him. He'll get paid his money to get his insurance, and they'll let him go back home. In my opinion, I think that's what's gonna happen. Or they'll just bench him and let Riley Leonard play, because I think they need to see what they have in that guy too, since they already drafted him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next I got some hot takes, some talking points. Before I was like, how do I want to get into this? I'll actually talk about the Niners first, and then I'll get into Jacksonville, because I have it kind of staggered. So, I want to leave a caveat. I think Brock Purdy as a person is great. I saw a thing on him yesterday where he gave out, and so the year before he gave out cars to his offensive line. This year he actually gave out cars to people in need, parents of like kids who had cancer, different types of cancers and medical conditions. So I do want to say that because I think I do talk a lot of crap about Brock Purdy. I am a Niners fan. But he as a person, he's a great person. I don't want that to be um like misplaced, right?
Yeah,
But I think when
I
it comes
agree.
to football, that's when I have different opinions. And it's not against him personally, it's just
It's
what
not
I
against
see,
his
in my opinion.
character, it's about his
Correct.
play.
Correct. So my hot take is that the Niners are going to have the number 1 seed. So before I get into Brock Purdy, but I think the Niners will have the number 1 seed. They control their own destiny. The Bears, I think, is the game. I don't think it's the Seahawks. I think the Bears is the biggest game. I think if they can get past the Bears, I think they can beat the Seahawks because they've already done it. We don't got to play Seattle this week or in week 18. That would be the hardest thing to do, as you can tell by what happened in the Rams game. Minus, Devontae wasn't there. So I'd also give that to the Rams as credit. Because I think they would have won if Devontae was there. But I think the Niners will take the 1 seed, and I think it's the story, right? Since everyone likes to think that the NFL is rigged, it is a story. You're going to play all the games through San Francisco. The Super Bowl's in San Francisco. Granted, honestly, like I'm not going to be disillusioned. I don't think the Niners are built for it because of the injuries. I think if they were healthy, it'd be a different question. But I think there's too many injuries on the defensive end, and without Ayuk there, that's kind of going to hurt that team when it comes against really good defensive teams, especially in the AFC. So I don't think that team is Super Bowl ready, in my opinion. Um, my next Niners one that I had for you, I kind of talked about it earlier, but I said that the Bears are going to need to play better than they did to beat the Niners this week because of the defense that showed up to play against Green Bay and that backup, and especially the backup running back. They're going to absolutely get. It's going to be like a Colts-like game. They're going to get smashed, bro. And that's just based on what I'm seeing. Obviously, Ben Johnson's a great offensive mind, but that defense needs to step up, in my opinion. That wasn't really like a talking point. It was more of just like a statement, I guess. So I've been kind of going back and forth about Brock Purdy, and I heard a thing, and it was actually, I think it was on Speakeasy. I'm just going to call them out. It's fine. They're a bigger platform. We're not anywhere near that. But it's like Acho, it's some other guy, and then one of their producers or whoever. It's like one of their buddies, guys who have played, right? They've seen the field. And Acho was on there saying, oh, well, Brock Purdy has proven all the haters wrong. Brock Purdy's done it with, without an all-star cast because people are hurt and he doesn't have Brandon Ayuk. I'm like, hold up. Let's like take a step back here for a second. He has the best running back in football. He has the best left tackle in football. He has one of the best tight ends in football. I would still say he's the best tight end in football because he can block and he can catch. Let's not act like Brock Purdy still doesn't have an all-star cast. Maybe he doesn't have Brandon Ayuk,
Right.
but Brandon Ayuk was never a top 5 receiver, top 10 receiver. It's not like he has Jamar Chase or nothing, but he still has these big pieces. There's teams that don't even have a top player in any position. So let's not act like he doesn't have talent around him. And the perfect example of this is last year when he couldn't get it done, when Christian McCaffrey was hurt, when freaking Bosa got hurt, when Trent Williams was hurt. Like he can't do it without these guys. And a lot of that offense is actually ran through Christian McCaffrey. So if anything, we should be giving a lot of credit to Christian McCaffrey more than giving it to Brock Purdy. And that's why I kind of led it with the caveat. It's not him as a person because I think he's a great person. But I think when it comes to that statement and people saying, oh, well, he's worth a $60 million, $55 million a year. I don't think he's proven that. Until he can do it with everyone hurt, I don't think he's proven that, in my personal opinion.
I think that's true. And to only further drive home the point that you had made before is that I think a lot of us can realistically say that there are a lot of people at our jobs that we know that we are like, you know what? They are amazing people. They're very sweet, right? But when it comes to work, they are absolute garbage.
I would call
Kind of.
pretty garbage, but
I obviously not to that extent, but they're not really the best at their job. So I think that's what we're trying to mean. Same thing when we talk about injuries, right? Obviously, do I hope that players on the other team that the Titans are playing get injured? Like, no, not really. But when they get injured, do I get excited? I'm like, yeah, kind of, because now we have a better chance to win. So, it's one of those situations. And as far as Purdy goes, like I'm still on that same boat where I don't believe he's the guy. I think he's being horrifically overpaid. I understand that there is a quarterback need in the NFL right now. So once you find one that's even okay or average, you got to lock him down. And I get it. Unfortunately, I think you guys need to find that wide receiver that can handle what he needs to handle.
Yeah, and I think the guy it can be Ricky Pearsall. Obviously, he's dealing with some injuries, but he's been very good when he's actually on the field and healthy. A couple more points I wanted to make before we move on to Jacksonville is that I believe that the guy who's actually proven himself with not an all-star cast around him is Mac Jones. Mac Jones came in, won a bunch
Yes.
of games, didn't have Ricky, didn't have Ayuk, had Kendrick Bourne, had Demarcus Robinson. Like, yeah, CMC was there, but he was able to do it. And with all the defensive injuries,
Yeah.
he actually did it. Whereas opposed to if the roles were reversed, Brock Purdy, you got to remember, people forget. They have a short-term memory when it comes to this. He wasn't playing good at the beginning of the year with the
Yeah.
same cast. So let's, I'm a big Mac Jones guy. It's not just because I have a lot of his cards, but I mean, that might play a little bit of role in it. But I've always liked him coming out of college. I just think he's more of a traditional guy, doesn't really run. But I
Yeah.
do think Brock's upside between the two of them is that, well, if you look at Brock, he can run, he can extend the play, he can move with his legs, but also, he's probably a little bit more accurate. Whereas you look at Mac Jones, he can actually get the ball down the field. And I think that's what I like about him is he's a pocket guy. And if he needs to
Yeah.
run, he will, but he's going to throw that deep ball and he can get it to somebody. And I think that to
I
me is
think
like, it's a
right.
traditional quarterback stance that we like when we grew up on, where it's like, that's the guy
Right.
that's going to do that.
Right.
Um,
And I think that the 49ers should, I mean, I don't know what year contract Mac Jones is on, but regardless of it, when that boy is going to leave or if there is the potential, you sign him, you do not let him go. He works in that system, he works in all of those situations. Keep him there, pay him what he wants, keep him there.
yeah, I mean, so what I've heard is actually that they're actually going to trade him, which I don't like
Oh,
personally.
that is
Yeah,
the worst. That's the
yeah,
worst thing they could
I'm
do.
I'm not too happy about that.
Oh, no, I would not be. No.
But I mean, if they can get a second rounder for him, I mean, I don't know. I think they need to talk with him about it too. But
Mm,
if he wants a shot to play somewhere, I mean, that's
I
on
mean,
him.
yeah, and I get that too, but at the same time, dude, I mean, I guess all I could say is as a 49ers organization, if I was, I would do whatever it took to.
Yeah. Well, we have him for one more year, but like I said, I don't know what their plans are, draft picks, salary cap. I have to look into all that, but it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, nothing
Yep.
against Brock Purdy. Great guy. I just
Yep.
think that he needs to step it up. And like I said, I just want to remind everybody, because I said this a long time ago, Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl. I'm buying a Brock Purdy jersey and I'll wear it. I'll wear it on here because I talk a lot of crap. I'll be the first person to be like, hey, I apologize. I'll throw that jersey on. I'll shut up. Next, so we have, I'll talk about Jacksonville a little bit. In your opinion, do you think they exposed the Broncos this past week with the win over them?
Yes, I think they did in the sense that I think it exposed the problem that their defense was covering up was that their offense doesn't really have exactly the weapons that you would hope for. And, Sutton is kind of a bigger name as a wide receiver, but to me, he's kind of like, I'm not going to say in the caliber, but holds the same weight as like Calvin Ridley did on the Titans. Like everybody knew, oh, okay, Calvin Ridley is the number one, right? Everybody knows for the Broncos, Sutton is the number one, but he doesn't play the way that the name holds, if that makes
Right.
any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Sutton, majority of the time, is not really doing a whole lot. And so I think what the Broncos need is they need to find a better running back than RJ Harvey. I'm not a big RJ Harvey fan, to be honest. Um, and I think that they need to move Mims into the slot and
Hmm.
they need to find another wide receiver too that might be a little bit more of a threat because you are
Hmm.
looking at Marvin Mims and you're going, yeah, we could one-on-one coverage with our nickel corner at this point. You know what I mean? Which your nickel corner is normally your third string, right? Um, where Sutton, you could definitely get that safety over the top help, but the offense is just not firing on the cylinders that the defense is.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to give up on RJ Harvey quite yet because I think he's playing good, but he was sharing a lot of time with J.K. Dobbins. But since J.K. Dobbins got hurt, he's performed pretty well. He's kind of a smaller back, so I would kind of see your point. Whereas, like, you don't know if he's like the back of the future forever.
Yeah.
But I think just with the Sean Payton offenses, they're spreading the ball a lot, so it's hard to pinpoint. Obviously, it's on paper it's Sutton, but Franklin's blown up a couple weeks. You've had Marvin Mims blow up a couple weeks, so it's kind of hard to, which is good for them, right? They
Pinpoint.
can throw the ball around and they can
Yeah.
kind of spread it around. But at the same time, like if your offense is not, acting like I'm not Dallas is an extreme, but Philly, Dallas, Niners, Seattle, Rams, like you're not going to be able to keep up with some of these teams. Yeah, you have a good defense, but eventually at some point, if your defense is out there too much, they're going to eventually get tired and fade. And we've seen that all throughout the year consistently. So one of the last things for Jacksonville I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to ask you, is do you think, and I kind of ask you this every week, but things change. Is Jacksonville a dark horse in the AFC? And before you go, I will say I believe so, just because of that defense. But obviously, it relies on Trevor Lawrence actually performing.
Right. I'm gonna say I'm still gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna say that Trevor Lawrence is going to choke.
Okay.
I think uh, I really kind of do want to say yes, but I just don't think that once they go against a team with a super good offense that is a consistently good offense, I think they're gonna run into problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I think they are just because of their defense, but right. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't had the greatest weapons. I mean, yeah, they had Travis Hunter, but we've kind of went into the year saying, well, he's a good receiver and a good corner, but he's not a great or the best receiver or the best corner in the draft. He could just play both. And he's out for the year anyways. But um, for me, I just think that Trevor Lawrence has always had it in him. I think Jacoby Myers has been a very good addition for him. I think that opens
Amazing
up that offense a
asset.
lot.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Parker Washington last week. He absolutely went off. Brian Thomas Jr. is not able to get in the mix because he's not getting doubled. Like they have a lot of potential, in my opinion. But I think it's as good as that defense can hold up. And obviously, Trevor still needs to do something, especially with that AFC being such a strong division. In my opinion,
Right.
I think Jacksonville and Buffalo would be the best matchup that I could see where I'd be like, I don't know what's going to happen. I think Buffalo still wins the AFC, but that would be the toughest game for them just based on that match.
Yes, just because you got to look at their division, right? AFC South. You have
Yeah.
them, right? Then you have Houston. That offense has not been consistent, right? Been up and down. Then you have Tennessee, just full of rookies, right? Then you have Indianapolis Colts, also not consistent. So they, in their division and a lot of the teams that they've seen, there's not a consistent good offense. You're not going to play these Ram type teams where that offense is firing on every cylinder, every single drive. You're not getting that. So that defense sometimes gets you know, a little lax because they can, where they also gives that offense a lot of opportunities. I believe that, yes, I do agree that Jacoby Myers did open that up a lot. I think, uh, I think if they would have kept Evan Ingram and would have kept him in the offense, I think that would have even excelled that offense much more. I don't think Brenton Strange is really, like at that Ingram level yet. Maybe he could be. But all in all, it's just to me, it's that consistent offense that will then start to unnoted or like the effect will subside into pushing the offense to have to do a little more, which is where I think Trevor Lawrence will choke.
Yeah, like I've seen games where like they beat the Niners, I mean. So like that's I think where like my head is coming from. They beat the Chiefs before the Chiefs were out of it. They beat them after they beat the Niners in October. They lost to the Seahawks, they lost to the Rams.
See,
Um
consistent
yeah, no, they're up and
offenses.
down, right? They're up and down. And I will agree. They beat the Chargers though, smoked the Chargers. Smoked the Colts. So and then they did pretty well. They beat the Broncos
Yeah,
by 2 touchdowns. So it's not, it
yeah,
just kind of depends. I think this week they'll do fine. It's just like I said, I think it depends on what Trevor Lawrence shows up. But that's why I think the Bills are going to take it. But I think that just on paper, if you have both teams showing out the best they can, it'd be an interesting matchup in my opinion. Um, but since I already kind of said it, I think we still think that the Bills are going to win the division, right? Like I don't think
yeah,
we've deviated from that.
yeah,
Okay. And then the NFC South debate I kind of wanted to talk to you about is you have Tampa, who just lost to the Panthers. So I know you kind of missed some of the recap that I gave, but the Panthers the Panthers beat the Bucks. Now they have the tiebreaker. So via the NFL website, they still have the Bucks at 57% and the Panthers at 43. And the reason for that is because I believe the Panthers have a pretty tough schedule coming up. Let me see. They play Seattle and then they play the Bucks again.
Ooh.
So if they lose, then it's tied, and then it comes down to the game against the Bucks in Tampa. So it's going to get real interesting real quick. But I guess what I want to ask you is, do you think the Panthers can still pull it off, even if they lose to Seattle this week?
Yeah, I think it's still possible because the Buccaneers, I don't know what happened with them. I think there's
injuries.
I still think there's more to that, to Baker's injuries than we know. And I think once the season ends, it's going to come out, Baker Mayfield was playing with one leg, it's going to be something that, just something.
He had a fracture in his hand and just said it was an AC sprain.
Yeah, he had his fracture, throughout his entire spine. Who knows? It's going to be something wild. But I think there's more to the injury than we.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at them play, they had back Mike Evans, they were starting to get healthy on offense, but I think with Baker's AC sprain, it's he's had a good game, one good game, I think, since he's been hurt. And then he's has not had great games. So that's my only concern for them. But I do think the Panthers are the dark horse for the NFC. Granted, I don't think they go to the Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying. They're obviously not built for it. They're young. But I think them at the 4 seed would get really interesting for some of those NFC West teams that they have already beat. So I believe they beat they lost to the Niners, but they beat the Rams and they are playing Seattle this week. So and then they lost to the Cardinals, which is wild. But granted, that was early on in the season when the Cardinals were still healthy. But they're just one of those teams where I think they can actually upset somebody in that 4 seed, like a team that on paper should be better than them. So I personally like Carolina to win that division, and I'm interested to see how that would go. I just got 2 more for you. The last one's going to be a lot of fun, I promise. It's not really a question. It's more of a statement. I guess I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. So in my opinion, based on what I believe, right, that the Niners are going to be the number 1 seed, the NFC is going to depend a lot. The whole playoff shakeup for the most part, as far as 1 seed, the 5 seed, the 6 seed, maybe the 7 seed, depending on how the next 2 weeks go, is going to depend on that week 18 matchup against the 49ers and the Seahawks. I think that's going to be a big game. I heard they're actually going to shift it. So if the Niners are still playing for that number 1 spot with Seattle, that they're going to move that to a Sunday night game instead of during the day like it's originally planned, which is great. I wish they did that for a lot of games that we get, during the season, because we were complaining about it. But, what are your thoughts as far as let's just say, hypothetically, the Niners, we'll just say hypothetically, because we don't know. Say the Niners beat the Bears going into week 18, Niners Seahawks Sunday night. What do you think happens in your opinion? It's in San Francisco. Come on, rage bait me. I know it's in there. I know you're going to do it.
No, I'm going to be honest. Honestly, I think Seattle has the better team, but the problem is that the Niners, for some reason, they got this weird fight, dude. They got this weird dog in them where they don't go down without they look like Randy Marsh, bro. They look like Randy Marsh. I didn't hear no bell, they're just jacked up, dude. Yeah. 100%.
Their defense for sure. Their defense, yeah, I would say.
Dude, their whole team, realistically, dude, their whole team gets injured. But I mean, ultimately, I think what it comes down to, and I think for the Niners, it comes down to how CMC plays. If CMC gets injured, consider him done. And to Seattle's point, it comes down to Sam Darnold, because we've seen Sam Darnold do this, right? When he goes just full.
Right.
I mean, the boy's full sending it. Yeah. I know.
You wanted to. I know. I saw it in you.
Yeah.
That's honestly where I'm thinking is going to happen.
That's kind of where I'm at. And honestly, if they both show up where Sam Darnold is just on point and CMC just is playing healthy, to be honest, dude, I could not tell you, because 100% at that point, that game will come down to a 4th and 5, dude.
It's going to be a Rams Seattle type game.
Oh, dude, that would be a game my my wife's giving birth, like, sorry, sweetheart, like, I gotta watch this. You know,
Yeah,
it would be such a good game, and I hope it is a good game, and I hope it's not some like, you know, Seattle just blows San Francisco out, or
right,
San Francisco just blows like Seattle out. I don't want to see that. I want it like
right.
down to the wire. I want to see. I just want to see some wild stuff.
I mean, and I honestly, that's what I'm anticipating is that it's going to be a really close game because both teams, right? The Niners want that week off. They want guys to come back healthy. Like, they don't want
Yeah,
to play another week. And then Seattle's like, man, we just beat the Rams. Like, we have the 1 seed. Like, we can use that time. We can prep. I wouldn't say they have the easier schedule because I think whoever plays in the 5 seed actually has the best schedule, playing against the Panthers or the Bucks. But that extra week I think is a lot. So, it's good because you don't see a lot of week 18 football where it really matters for some people, for some teams. So I do think it's going to be a very good game. I think Brock Purdy needs to show up like he did against the Colts. Obviously, the Colts don't have as good of a defense as the Seattle Seahawks do. Um, but we'll see. I'm very happy. I'm very excited for that game. This week's thumbnail is the Niners and the Bears. So I think next week, though, unfortunately, it's going to have to be the Niners and Seahawks if this is what it's coming down to. I think without a shadow of a doubt, you have to do it. Uh, so the last thing I got for everybody, I know it's on too long of a hot take section. Full disclosure, I thought I was doing the solo today because of the holidays. So we have the great debate. So I kind of wanted to give a plug. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. So the point of it is it's going to be like a bonus episode. I think is like the best way to describe it. It's a bonus episode. You can watch it throughout the year. It doesn't have to be during football. It doesn't have to be, what I'm saying? Like it's different because a lot of our content is this fight's coming up, this interview because this fight's coming up, or, oh, we're going to do fantasy football for this week because this is coming up, right? It's always anticipation of something. But what's nice about this episode is it's completely different. You can watch it in next week. You can watch it in February. You can watch it in August. You can watch it during the season. It doesn't really matter. It kind of is going to be our first true long form content that can be played at any point in the season. So I'm like really excited about it. We haven't really made a bunch of the rules yet, and that's a lot of stuff that Xavier Hayden and I need to talk about in the Discord.
yeah.
I'm going to do my best as a moderator. This is not me to debate. This is for them as the fans of their respective teams to talk about it. And if people are like, who are you talking about? So it's going to be titled The Great Debate, Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders, which I think they've had so many comparisons. With Shedeur was the consensus #1 pick before the 24 rookie or college football season. And then, Cam Ward kind of came out, secured that #1 spot and got drafted #1 overall. And obviously everyone knows that Shedeur was taken in the 4th round, fell down a lot, because of his dad or because of his play, because of, a lot of different things, his personality. So I think it's going to be a fun debate. It's going to be educational, but it's also going to be some great content because you're going to see a Tennessee Titans fan and a Cleveland Browns fan, who in my opinion are probably one of the 2 worst organizations right now in football. Not the worst, but they're up there down there, you should say. But I'm very excited to do this episode. And if people enjoy this, I think we should continue to do this and get other members of the community in to defend some of their teams, whether it's Niners fans defending Brock Purdy or, Seahawks fans defending Sam Darnold or whatever the case may be, right? You can do it over teams, over players. So we're going to kind of push that content out, especially with football season dwindling down. Maybe that might be something that can cover in during the off season. I think that might be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a healthy debate. It's not going to be, we're going to get passionate, sure, but I mean,
you're catting out for sure. I'm expecting you 100% to cat out, and obviously, like, we're not going to try to cuss. We're going to do our best, but it's going to be a heated debate, but it's going to still be as structured as I can possibly make it, and that's going to be something that I need to do as a moderator.
So one thing too, at the end of the day, understand that, me and Hayden, we are not like at all like, I'm not going to go slash his tires. He's not going to throw a rock through my window.
No.
You know what I mean? It's nothing but respect. It's just 2 people defending their teams, this and that. We're going to have respect for each other through it. And if at any time, maybe one of us feels a certain type of way about it, we got to take break. Like, bro, we got to take break. It's good. This is all out of good fun. This is, I'm not going to take anything personal. I'm pretty sure Hayden isn't going to take anything personal. Rod has no stake in the game, so he's just going to sit there with popcorn and laugh as he watches, two of the worst organizations tell each other why they're the worst organizations. It's going to be super
the
funny.
battle of the boo-boos, man. That's what it is.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. But all in all, we're going to be giving out the facts about our teams. We're going to be giving our opinions. There's going to be a lot of stuff incorporated. And what we really are looking for too is actually, community engagement in those things.
Yes,
where you could
absolutely.
just, comment in the video, let us know. And, hopefully if we get enough comments and we get enough interaction to where we can actually make a rebuttal video of some of those comments, where, maybe somebody just says, you know what, both your guys' team sucks. Like, why are you guys even doing that? Get a life, whatever. I'm cool with
It's
it.
fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. That's why.
Yeah, it's just, Rob's just constantly trying to get me to cat out anyways. Even in our off time, dude. We play video games and he tries to get me to cat out just because
it's pretty easy, honestly. I just gotta be hey.
It brings him it brings him some type of sick satisfaction. I don't know.
Dude, it's great.
Disgusting individual. But
no, it makes my night. It makes my night.
But regardless, just little caveat with that is that, we are looking for the fan, engagement and stuff like that to where, maybe one of you guys say something that, is a good point for one side or the other. Or you could just be like, hey, look, X totally won that debate. Or you could be like, hey, look, Hayden totally won that debate. Like, whatever the case may be. But it's all out of good fun at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he hit it right on the head. Like, we want you guys to let us know what you think. If you disagree, agree. I don't know if there actually will be a winner or a loser, honestly. I mean, we won't know until the season tells you. Hindsight's 2020, so you don't really know what's going to happen until next season, right? If you guys are talking about next season. I think what this is going to do is going to open up a door to the different type of content, especially during the off season. So like I do football, I do boxing, I do MMA, but I don't always have time to do everything. There's just a lot going on. But if there's some healthy debates with different quarterbacks or different teams, especially around the NFL draft, like with teams having new players, like you can debate, oh, what do you think about Mendoza versus this guy? And then, you bring in people who know these teams, like wherever they go, right? Whether it's Raiders fans or, whatever the case may be. I just think it opens up a new window. It opens up a new type of content, but it also helps get the community engaged. And it'll also help us find people of fans. Maybe we don't have friends that are fans of these certain teams. And then we bring you on to have healthy debates and you could be interested, or you could be shown in a YouTube video, which I think is cool. I mean, as long as it's all in good fun, I edit it at the end of the day. It's not live, so it doesn't really matter. But that's what I want. I want community engagement, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I would hope we provide a safe place. And at the end of the day, it's passion, it's opinions, but it's also educational. That's what we strive to do here. So
yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
Right. But everybody, thanks for sticking around. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. That really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. I really can't stress that enough. You can check it out all of our social media. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Apple, YouTube, Spotify podcasts. It's all at Encinas Unfiltered. On Twitter, it's at Encinas UF. As a reminder, you can join our membership program. It's 99 cents a month until February, and then that promotion is going to be gone. It's our Founders Edition. You get all of our tiers for 99 cents. Gets you early access to shorts, gets you early access to our episodes, gets you access to our great debate show, which will be accessed first to our members of our community before we make it public. And also you'll have access to our Discord where you can ask us one-on-one fantasy advice. We have chats for football, basketball, baseball, video games, arc raiders. I mean, you name it. We have a little bit of everything for everybody. MMA, boxing, definitely worth it for 99 cents. You can't beat it. So go ahead and check that out. Also, as a reminder, I said this at the top of the episode, we have week 17 of Fantasy Royale. I don't believe someone has won quite yet the $1,000 bounty. You guess all the teams right, you win $1,000. If you don't, but you have the highest guesses and yards and points or whatever, you can still win a $100 gift card to Homage, which is like a retro MLB, NBA, NFL type clothing brand and store. It's pretty cool clothes. I would definitely recommend checking that out. But the best part is all this is free. You can play for free. It doesn't cost you $1. It takes you 30 seconds. You can check out the link in our description to sign up there. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about merch. I am still in the process of trying to get it integrated into YouTube. But for now, you can go directly into either the link in our description here or on our main page where we have the link there for you to go ahead and check it out. Until next time, everybody. Peace.
Later.